So a key aspect of this issue of artificial intelligence is really what's the role of the leader, and it's one that is often not given enough attention. A lot of organizations say, oh, we need to hire great talent, we need to get the best data scientists, the best AI engineers, but I would argue that critical prerequisite for this to work within organizations is having leadership that really understands and provides a lot of support and commitment for artificial intelligence. So there is this idea of the AI first organization, and certainly there are a lot of tech firms that are in that category, a lot of the platform-oriented firms, the Googles, the Facebooks, the Airbnbs, and so on. They say AI is so critical to our business that we need to deploy it in as many areas of the business as we can and as many business processes as we can possibly support with it. Now, most of these are tech firms now. Google, for example, has 2,700 or so projects underway involving AI. Pfizer, one of the leading non-tech firms, has a little bit more than 100 or so. So you see some sense of the relationship. But those traditional businesses are moving in this direction as well. And a number of leaders are starting to say, I need to really know more about this and to provide more support for it. The early adopters in this space are developing key strategies for AI. They are appointing champions for AI throughout their business, developing implementation roadmaps. About a third in a recent survey that I did with Deloitte said they are doing all of these things, which I think suggests it's going to be difficult to be a fast follower in this area. So what are the attributes of AI-driven leaders? I wrote a little piece about this with Janet Foudy, who's the head of Deloitte Consulting in the U.S., and we came up with 7 different factors. Number one is you need to know something about these technologies. I mean, AI is not one technology, but many. Each technology does different types of things. So it's pretty critical that executives have some sense of what are the capabilities of the different technologies, the typical use cases, and so on. So that may require some sort of formal or semi-formal education-oriented program. 2, I mean, as with anything else, you don't want to use AI for AI's sake. You have to have some clear business objectives to which you want to put this technology, some areas of the business where you think it can really make a difference and move the needle. What are the key business processes you're going to use it in? Then I think AI is a little bit unusual in that it's important to set an appropriate level of ambition for it within your company. We can do highly aggressive moonshots, we can do low-hanging fruit, or variety of things in between. I think the best way to go is probably a collection of relatively easy to accomplish applications, maybe in a single area, so you start to have an impact on the organization. But knowing what your appropriate level of ambition is, even if you're really good at technology, I think you should be careful about thinking you're going to transform your business overnight with AI. It just doesn't typically work that way. Many organizations have had problems getting to production deployments with AI. They do a lot of pilots or prototypes or proofs of concept, but they don't really get to production deployment. And, it's not without reason. That's where the behavioral change has to happen. That's where workers have to figure out sort of what they're doing and what the machines are doing. That's where you're going to have interfaces with existing systems and processes. So it's not easy, but of course you don't add any value with AI at all unless you ultimately put it into production. This has been a problem with analytical systems within organizations. It's even more of a challenge with AI. Number 5, you need to get people ready. I mean, there's going to be a need for a lot of retraining, upskilling, reskilling In some of the surveys that I've worked on, there are actually a lot of employers who say it's going to be easier for me to hire people outside. I don't want you to succumb to that temptation too much. I think people within your organization can learn the necessary skills, but it's going to take some time. You're going to have to give them some options. You're going to have to say, here's what we need you to be able to do. I think the organizations that start to do that early will be most successful. Number 6 is it's important to get the necessary data. I mean, a lot of the organizations that I've worked with and done research in and talked to about AI, they don't realize that data is, of course, the single most critical prerequisite. In many cases with machine learning, it's going to have to be labeled data. In many cases, labeling that data, saying what happened in the outcome variable or feature is quite labor intensive. So you need to start thinking at a pretty early stage, what data do we need to make AI work for us? What part of the business is it going to come from? Is there external data that we can get to start to analyze? It's just a very critical asset. And as with business analytics, I mean, the dirty secret of AI is that much of the work is really about data and getting it ready and doing data management, and not the sort of sexy algorithmic component. And then finally, you see change in organizations that do this well, in addition to all the technical and data-oriented stuff. AI certainly requires a lot of effort and capability in the IT organization, but it's going to change jobs as well. So there has to be a lot of input from HR. It's going to change the business process. So various owners of the business are going to have to step up and say, yeah, I'm willing to sponsor that kind of change. It's important for us to do. So this really has to be a collaborative effort, and it works well in organizations that overall are collaborative, where senior executives are talking to each other, where they're talking to the rest of the organization frequently about the kinds of changes that they're going to undergo.